The Astrovault closed behind Kenny Rain with a sound that echoed like the ceiling of a tomb. Steel the size of mountains locked together overhead, while the lights of the city stretched endlessly beyond him in rivers of gold, crimson, and electric blue. Billions were still watching. The broadcast drones hovered above the main entrance, tracking him from every angle as the replay of the sword kick continued flooding projection towers across human space. The commentators sounded almost breathless. No contestant has ever publicly rejected a family relic during the opening ceremony. This is either insanity or strategy. Look at the live betting shifts. Kenny Rain's survival odds just tripled. No, correction, they're dropping again. Wait, what? The numbers across the giant screens flickered violently, because the moment Kenny crossed through the gates of Astrovault, another statistic appeared beneath his name. Active bounties, 17. A few nearby contestants laughed quietly when they saw it.
One muttered under his breath, "Fastest bounty stack in Eclipse history." Kenny ignored them. The city swallowed him whole. Astrovault was not built like normal civilization. It was built like humanity's addiction given physical form. Massive highways spiraled between skyscrapers layered with holographic advertisements larger than old Earth stadiums. Entire walls played combat highlights from previous Eclipse games on endless loops. Blood sprayed across 20-story projections while crowds roared through speakers hidden throughout the city. A woman with chrome-plated arms ripped another contestant's jaw off in one replay. Another showed Lord Rain himself during the 9th Eclipse standing knee-deep in bodies beneath rain and emergency sirens. Kenny's eyes flicked upward briefly. 211 kills. The city practically worshipped the number. Children inside luxury balconies wore replicas of his father's armor while toy swords modeled after the ancestral rain blades sold from floating vendor drones overhead.
Now every screen had begun replacing those old clips with Kenny's kick. Again, again, again. The sword spinning through the air, the impact beside Lord Rain's head, the silence afterward, already becoming legend. Kenny kept walking. The deeper he moved into Astrovault, the stranger the city became. Contestants were everywhere. Some looked like soldiers. Others looked more like engineered monsters. A towering man with metal grafted directly into his spine dragged a railhammer larger than Kenny himself through the street. A woman covered in luminous tattoos sat calmly outside a betting hall cleaning blood from curved knives while people stepped around her like she was a sleeping animal. Augmented fighters openly advertised themselves on giant digital billboards. Team Talos now accepting contracts, kill confirmed bonus payouts available, survive longer, evolve faster. Everything here revolved around death. And the city loved it. A drone descended beside Kenny suddenly. "Contestant identified," the artificial voice said. "Kenny Rain, assigned district housing available, transportation route uploaded." A holographic path appeared ahead of him. District 17. Several nearby contestants immediately laughed. One whistled low. No way. They put a Rain in 17? That's brutal. Even Kenny finally looked up slightly. District 17, the Graveyard District. One of the oldest and most violent sections of Astrovault. Poor infrastructure, minimal security patrols, highest murder rate outside official matches. Most contestants assigned there either died quickly or became monsters. Interesting. Kenny continued walking without reaction. Above him, giant news panels had already begun discussing the assignment publicly. Is this punishment? The elites clearly want to test him, or kill him. District 17 housed 38 fatalities during the 9th Eclipse. Lord Rain himself once referred to it as the sewer beneath the city. Kenny almost smiled at that. Almost. The streets changed as he moved lower through Astrovault. Luxury towers vanished. The lights dimmed. Buildings became older, rusted, and overcrowded. Steam leaked from exposed pipe systems running across entire alleyways while giant cooling fans rattled overhead. The smell changed too. Oil, cheap food, blood. People stared openly now. Not civilians, contestants. Word had spread ahead of him. The Rain heir was entering 17. A man sitting outside a weapon market spat onto the pavement as Kenny passed. "Daggers?" he scoffed. Another contestant laughed beside him. "Pretty boy thinks he's an assassin. They always break down here eventually." A third voice spoke quietly from somewhere nearby. Still wouldn't test him. That changed the atmosphere immediately, because no matter how strange Kenny looked, he was still a Rain. Fear lingered around the bloodline like smoke. Kenny finally stopped outside a massive projection tower dominating the center of the district. The screen above displayed live betting odds. Kenny Rain. Survival projection. 8 months.
The crowd nearby laughed. Then the number suddenly changed. 6 months. Then again, 4 months. Someone had placed a massive death bet against him live. A woman near the tower grinned. "They're coming for you quick." Kenny looked toward the screen calmly, then kept walking. That unsettled people more than anger would have. At the far end of District 17 sat the contestant housing blocks. Towering concrete structures layered with thousands of apartment units protected by heavy security doors and automated turret systems. The city expected violence here. Prepared for it. Kenny stepped toward the entrance scanner, then paused. A familiar voice called out behind him. "Took you long enough, brother." Kenny turned. Pines stood leaning against a rusted pillar nearby with his hands buried in the pockets of a dark combat jacket. Older now, broader, short dark hair, a scar cut through one eyebrow, but the grin remained exactly the same. For the first time all day, Kenny visibly relaxed, only slightly.
Pines walked closer, shaking his head. "You really kicked the bloody sword back at him." Kenny shrugged. He threw it. Pines burst out laughing. Nearby contestants stared openly. Nobody else on the planet would dare laugh about Lord Rain publicly. Pines looked Kenny up and down. "Daggers too? Mate, the old family council's probably having heart attacks right now." "Good." That single word carried enough coldness to silence even Pines briefly. The smile faded slightly from his face. "Still thinking about her?" Kenny didn't answer. Didn't need to. Pines exhaled quietly. "Right." For a moment the noise of Astrovault faded around them. Just 2 men standing beneath broken neon lights while giant screens overhead replayed violence for the amusement of billions. Then Pines grinned again. "Anyway, you're famous now. I noticed." "No, I mean really famous." Pines pointed upward. One of the projection screens now displayed a new headline. "The Black Sheep of Rain." Beneath it, clips of Kenny's sword kick played repeatedly beside live audience reactions. "They love you," Pines said, "or hate you, hard to tell yet. Doesn't matter. That's the spirit." Pines stepped beside him toward the housing entrance. "Come on, I'll show you around before somebody tries killing you." "They already are." "Yeah, but 17's usually polite enough to wait until after dinner." The scanner doors opened. Inside, the housing complex looked more like a prison merged with an apartment block. Long industrial corridors, exposed piping, flickering lights, contestants everywhere. Some immediately recognized Kenny. Conversations died as he passed. Others stared directly at the daggers. A few looked disappointed. One older contestant covered in burn scars muttered, "Coward weapons." Kenny stopped walking. The corridor quieted instantly. Pines sighed softly. "Oh, here we go." Kenny turned slightly toward the man. "Still lethal." The burn-scarred contestant smiled cruelly. "We'll see." Kenny stared at him for another second, then continued walking. The man didn't move again. Pines chuckled under his breath. "You know normal people blink during confrontations, yeah?" Kenny ignored him. They eventually reached the upper levels of the housing block where contestant rooms overlooked the lower districts of Astrovault. Kenny stepped toward the window beside the corridor. The city stretched endlessly beyond the glass. Somewhere far above, luxury districts glittered like another civilization entirely. Somewhere below, sirens echoed through slum streets while crowds gathered around illegal fight pits. Astrovault felt alive, like a machine feeding itself endlessly. Pines leaned beside him. "Different from Calum 9, hey?" Kenny nodded once. On Calum 9 there had been silence, snow, training compounds, the sound of blades striking stone. Here the city never stopped moving, never stopped watching. A sudden alarm blared through the housing block. Every screen nearby activated simultaneously. A woman appeared on the displays wearing elegant black and gold attire marked with the Eclipse crest. Her smile looked artificial. "Attention contestants," she announced smoothly. "Welcome to the 10th Eclipse Games." Every corridor stopped moving. "The first challenge brackets will be revealed in 12 hours. Groans spread immediately. Some contestants cursed, others smiled nervously. Contestants are reminded that all kills outside official challenge parameters reduce ranking potential unless sanctioned through bounty contracts. The screen shifted. Then Kenny's face appeared, entire corridor silent. Special bounty notice. Pines muttered quietly. Well, that can't be good. The woman continued smiling. Private contracts concerning contestant Kenny Rain have exceeded standard opening limits. Due to overwhelming demand, bounty restrictions have been temporarily lifted within District 17. The corridor erupted. Some contestants immediately stood. Others began messaging through wrist interfaces. Several pairs of eyes locked onto Kenny instantly. Pines swore under his breath. "Mate," the announcer kept speaking. "Additional reward multipliers have been authorized for confirmed kills." Now even Pines looked unsettled. That's not normal. No, it wasn't. The elites were not even pretending anymore. They wanted him dead immediately. The broadcast vanished. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then the corridor lights suddenly dimmed red. Emergency lockdown mode. Heavy steel shutters slammed across exits throughout the block. A computerized voice echoed overhead. District 17 curfew initiated. The contestants around Kenny slowly began smiling. One cracked his neck loudly. Another pulled a blade from his jacket. Pines looked around carefully. Right. A large man stepped from the far end of the corridor holding a shock baton dripping with fresh blood. Behind him stood 6 others. Different builds, different weapons. Same expression. Predators. The large man grinned. 2 million credits as I drag your corpse to the gate myself. Silence. The corridor held its breath. Then Kenny slowly reached behind his back and drew one dagger.